So, first of all, I would like to welcome you all to Chyron's venue production webinar this afternoon. We're very excited to have you with us and to dive into the workflows for both basketball and ice hockey productions coming up for the 2025-2026 season. Today's spotlight will be giving you a general overview and refresher on the Prime Click Effect software, helping you feel a little bit more confident and enhance those fan experiences and keep game day production running smoothly for you and your fans. The webinar is being recorded, and you'll have access to this content afterwards. We'll make sure to send it your way while also putting it on our YouTube channel as well for you to be able to reference it throughout the season. As we go throughout the session, please make sure to submit any questions that you might have in the comments and question area in the webinar, and we'll make sure to address those before the end of the meeting. At this time, we'd like to turn it over to Brian Bray, who will introduce our starting lineup for today's webinar this afternoon.
Thanks, Jacob. Appreciate everybody joining us. We have a really good webinar for you today. In past webinars, we focused on the different sports during the time. So this week we will take a look at hockey and basketball as those seasons are on the brink of getting started. Joining us today will be our head of sales, Owen Seaton, and then we'll hear from Logan O'Neill with our support team, and Cole Taylor, who is with our technical account manager, or TAM. And also joining us is Matt's our product manager. Matt's joining us from across the ocean over there. Say hi, Matt.
Hi, everyone. Nice to be here.
Great to have you here, buddy. Glad to have it. Matt's is responsible for the product, for ClickFX product, and comes up with all the really cool features that we've been working on for you guys, and takes care of all of the technical side of what we're doing on here. So today we're going to take a look at game preparation setup. We're going to take a look at testing content and data, and we're going to talk a little bit about best practices, and then we'll end with a question and answer period of time. But getting us started today will be Cole Taylor. Cole, why don't you take it, buddy?
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. Yeah, like Brian said, we kind of have a bit of a basic session going on today, and then going into some of the more advanced features that might be within your basketball or hockey workflow on Thursday. So first thing, to introduce people to ClickFX that might not have seen it before. Maybe you're a new operator. Maybe you just need a refresher. Maybe it's been a while on the off season. Right now, I'm sharing my screen to a ClickFX system that is a bit of a special variety. So within the world of ClickFX and in-venue shows, for playout boxes, you have a couple different varieties. You have traditional, let's call it SDI playout. So anything that's really 16:9, usually used as basic clip players, or something that's going to pass through live video to sweet TVs, and you're going to add, some stats graphics on top of it. Definitely really cool part of a system. Even though they are fairly basic, there's a lot of really cool stuff that you can do with it, and we'll dig into that soon. The other side is all of your odd shape boards. So anything that's really not 16:9 and traditionally just driven by a clip player or a switcher. So we're talking about all of your LED ribbons that might go around your bowl, end zones, scorers table in basketball, boards up near the nets, all of that sort of odd shape boards, and that's our GPU channels here. So you can see there's a little bit of a difference between the GUI of the two. In this box, we have two SDI channels. So you can see here as I switch between them, it's flipping, but all of our transport controls and preview and program monitors up at the top here stay the same. And then for GPU channels, obviously we want to view a variety of different outputs. So that's how we have it sort of aligned up here. Again, if you're new to ClickFX, as I switch back and forth, you can see the thing that stays constant between the two varieties of outputs is our button view. And this is how you actually drive the system. The big thing about ClickFX, we try to make it really easy. It's been around for a long time and had a lot of success in being a really easy to use product. So the function of using it is obviously, you're importing your content, and we'll get into that in a second. But in regards to actually playing content out, I'll just navigate over to my GPU channels here. It's very simple. You click once, your button ends up going into yellow. That's into preview. I can go here, my GPU output, and go to preview, and I can see, okay, I have something loaded into preview. I can click it once again, and it's going to send that item into program. So now I'm seeing it on my actual output. Again, really, really easy functionality. We try to keep it super duper easy. And there's a lot of cool tips and tricks that we're going to show you today as we sort of give you some recommendations of what are the best practices that you can use in preparing your show and preparing your content. Now that we know about the GUI a little bit, let's start sort of where every game day starts. You know, you're an operator, you come in, or maybe you're somebody else who works in the building, and your responsibility is to load content into the system. So, like I said, the different outputs that I have here, you can see I have 3 sort of independent GUIs as I change between the different outputs. You can see obviously all my content's changing. So for each one of these, I have what's called my buttons, which are these 60 items within my view here. All of the different empty spots here can be filled with content that you can play out. For each output, you have 14 different pages of these buttons. And then you have 6 different banks of 14 pages. So compiling all that, you have a lot of space to be able to build your show, store content, interact with it, organize it however you might want to. I'll pop back up here on the left-hand side to my basketball bank, because that's obviously what we're doing today. Basketball and hockey, I named it basketball, but again, this is all interchangeable to whatever your system might be set up for, or whatever sport you're doing. Some buildings, they might even set it up in the case that, let's say they have a major league team and a minor league team, for great example, NBA, and then the G League. They might have, a variety of banks that are used for the NBA, and then they might have one down here at the bottom that's used for their G League team. Because maybe there's some cohesive content that gets used on both shows, and then they want one spot to dump all of their stuff for their G League show, or a corporate show that comes in. So they'll try to stay organized in their pages and banks like that. Like I said, the first thing that we're going to do is try to import some content. So 2 very basic ways of doing that. There's a couple here. So firstly, if you wanted to, you could pop over. Let me just go over here, and I'll just open up a file. So I'm just within my Windows File Explorer. And from here, I'm just going to navigate to a place that I know there's some content. So let's say I'm going to go to my MLSC folder, because we're talking about basketball and hockey. And we're going to import some sponsors. So let me go here. Firstly, before I drag something in, I'm going to make a new page for it. So let's call this our sponsor page. And this is where we're going to import all of our sponsor graphics to, or videos to. And you can see here, I have a giant list of different sponsors. Obviously, really important during professional sports is how the everybody ends up getting paid at the end of the day, is sponsorship for the most part. And something super easy you can do is, if you have a file explorer open, you can just click and drag into one of these button spaces. You're going to see the system processes a little bit. And now I have a button in here. And you can see that since this button, this is to play out on a ribbon, it's already assigned it to the output, this ring output up here. That is my ribbon going around. So the system's checking the aspect ratio and the pixel sizes of the actual content, and it's saying, oh, I'm importing it. Where should this play out to? And if there's a matching or a close to matching output, it's going to automatically assign it to that output. Another very easy way to import something, I can go ahead and right click anywhere within my grid, anywhere there's an open button, go ahead and click import files. Obviously, I'm pointed at the same place, this MLSC sponsor section here. Just go and show my list. And from here, if I wanted to, I could just grab any variety just by shift clicking the top and bottom of it. And you could do a big bulk import where, now it's going to go through and process all of these different stills and videos all at the same time, kind of go through and build my grid here. Now that I have it all in there and it's all populated, you can see these were all matched to the right output size. So it's all been programmed to output on that ring. And then from here, as simple as that, I could just go ahead and single click to go to preview, second click, and now it's going to my program output. And you can see here that that's my striping on my program output for all the rings LED going out. If I did want to take it out of program, I can either use the individual stop button here, just below that player, and clicking it once is going to pause it, clicking it twice is going to bring it out. Again, all that is logic that you can build into the user. So I can say a single click is going to take it out of program if I wanted it to. But traditionally, it's one click to take it into preview, one click to take it into program, one stop to pause the item, a second stop button to take it out of program. The other thing, if I did have a variety of content going on inside of my outputs here, let's say I have something going on in the ring and I have something going on another fascia board over here. That's an example of a GIP. And I have something else going on another screen that's getting outputted. If I did want to take them all out at once, there's a couple different ways of handling it, but the easiest is going to be using this stop all button here. Again, the logic of the software says click it once and it's going to take any graphics out, and then for my still, click it again and it's going to take that out. So again, really, really straightforward to hop in front of import content, start playing it out, and kind of getting on your way. Obviously, let's say, we're an operator, we've come in for the day, we've loaded our new content into the system. Some of the next things that we're going to do is start organizing ourselves and determining how that content behaves, getting ready for our show, right? So putting things in the right places, making sure that we're ready and comfortable to actually take on our show. So one of the things to understand about content within FlickFX, there's a variety of different content. So yeah, you could have video, you could have a still, so just like a flat image, and you can also have a graphic. Audio is another thing. You could import audio clips into there as well. But just to touch on the main three pieces of output, like video content, it's video, stills, and graphics. The difference between stills and graphics have editable layers. So I can go in and adjust, text and backgrounds and all of these things. Stills are totally baked in. Along with that, we have three different types of behaviors for content. So if I go and right click on this content that's already in there, you can see I have the option to pull it open in an editor. So this is obviously a graphic that has different layers. I'm going to close that down. I could also set the behavior. So we have three different kind of methodologies here that kind of span across everything that we do in FlickFX. You could have a full screen graphic, an overlay, and a bug. The main differences is the displacement logic with that. So a full screen graphic, if I'm playing a full screen graphic and I add another full screen graphic in, it's going to push that other full screen graphic out of program. It's going to push whatever's in program out. An overlay, if I have a full screen graphic on and then I add an overlay on, it's going to stick to whatever's underneath it. So if I take that full screen graphic out of program, it's going to bring the overlay out with it. And then a bug, that's sort of, you can imagine that just sort of sits on top of everything. That's sort of the highest layer there. And it doesn't really care about what's going on underneath it. It's if I take something out that's underneath it, it's just going to continue to live up there until I decide to take that bug out. So important sort of thing to understand, especially when you're thinking about how you want to operate your show and how you want these graphics to interact with each other. Now that we've sort of understood what types of content can come in, how we bring it in, and the different behaviors that they can sort of take on, a couple other interesting things to note as well. Since we do have a lot of different outputs here, we can actually decide what content is outputting where. So you can see here on these 4 different buttons I have in at the top of each of these buttons, you can see SDI1 for this particular graphic, program 4 for this particular graphic, and then 5 for these 2. Those are the designations of saying, I want to play this content out to that board. So within your view here, you could have any number of different buttons going to different outputs. It's not like they need to live on their actual playout channels. And the way that you could manipulate that as well, let's say, I have this basketball scoreboard, which is going out to one of my SDI channels. You can see it sort of building its way in there. But I also wanted, I've made a bunch of changes to that scoreboard, and I also want it to play out on a channel on my GPU side, or I want it to play out to SDI2 as well. So we can take it out of program. Let's go back to where that button lives. I can go ahead and right click it, or sorry, I'll hit Control O, and that brings me into organizer mode. You could also right click anywhere within the grid and change it to organizer mode. So just that bottom part of the window there. And then here, I can go ahead and just click control and drag down, and it's going to make a copy of it. I could also right click it, copy and paste it. And then from there, I'm just going to right click it and say, I want to select the channel. And now this button is going to output to SDI2. So now when I click that button, going to SDI2, now it's playing out in that playout channel. So a lot of flexibility within the system here to sort of jump around and quickly make changes to your content in regards to how it behaves and where it's going. I'm just going to delete those two different items there just to stay nice and clean within my grid. So now we have content in our system. We've organized it a little bit. Additionally, we might want to have content play out at the same time, things that are going to match up. And I don't want to have to jump around and click multiple buttons to do that. I want to be able to have a single button press or a single location to be able to press something, and it's going to make changes all across the board. It's going to play out content to my ribbon. It's going to play out content to SDI player and my program 4 here. So there's two different approaches that we have within ClickFX to do something like that. The first one is called a group. So I can right click again anywhere within my grid, and I'm going to go ahead and say create a group. You can see it automatically puts me into organizer mode. So now, I can click and drag on buttons and move them around. And it also pops open this group button editor. So let's go ahead and say this is my game look. The one thing to note about groups, I can add all these different buttons that I have, all the different content I've loaded onto the system into it, but I can only add them if they're going to different outputs. So one piece of content per output. So in this case, let's say my game look, it's going to be bringing up both my scoreboards. So you can see I'm just clicking and dragging those buttons in, and then it's also going to put up, this sponsor onto my ribbon output. So now I can just say okay, and I'll go back to where I created that group, and now I have this game look group. And whenever I press that, a group is going to keep the same logic that you have for the rest of your buttons. So a single press is going to put things in preview. A second press is going to bring them over to program. And you can see now I have content playing out in 3 different places here, all from just clicking one sort of instance, right? It's all in one location instead of jumping around and clicking all those different buttons. I'm going to take everything out of program now. So I'll take a graphic out of SDI1 and then double click my stop all button here to take everything else out. I'm going to show you the next sort of thing that you can do, which is a little bit more flexible in a way that I like to show customers how to build these sort of single press to do actions all over the place. And that's called a remote. So again, same sort of way you can do this, right click anywhere within the grid. And we're going to say create remote control this time. Again, you see the editor kind of pops up. Let's say this is another game look remote. And I've selected it as a ClickFX network device. There's a variety of different options within this dropdown here. I already pressed enter, so it's grayed itself out. So I'll just show you here by going and creating another remote control. The cool thing about remote controls, not only can you trigger content within your system to play out to different channels and everything else, you can also trigger multiple pieces of content to the same channel. So if you had something to go in the background and then you had a bug that's going on top of it on the same output, you could do that, along with sending commands elsewhere. So sending a command to another playout device. A lot of our customers, they might be a bit of a mixed house in regards to what equipment they have inside of their building. They might, have a raw switcher or, Viz graphics and Daktronic show control for another piece of their building. And from there, we're able to send commands here all within a single button press to do actions on other systems. So a lot of different options here. You can control scalers, routers, GPU matrices. So, your Lightware channel router where you're sending content to certain boards and switching to send to another board, or different looks, even generic TCP and UDP as well. So a lot of flexibility with these remotes here. And the main differences, like I sort of illustrated before, a group is just going to play out content, one item per different output, and a remote is going to be able to play out content anywhere that you want, or multiple pieces of content anywhere that you want, and then also make changes to external devices. Really, really cool stuff. We even have people as well using remotes to send like a GPI command over to even like a Prime CG system, so another Chyron system, to trigger something on their CG at the same time they play out to all their ribbon boards, everything like that. It's really, really cool. So the way that I would put content in there, so now that I've created the remote, and like I sort of showed before, I selected ClickEffects Network as the type of remote. So I'm going to go up here to my remote button up here, or remote drop down, and go to ClickEffects Network. From here, this is also how we end up talking between systems. So if you had a configuration where you had enough LED to decide, or enough screens to decide that it's above and beyond the capabilities of one system, we would all network them all together, make sure they're talking to each other, and then in here, this is where you would go ahead and say, when I play my game look on system A, I want this to happen on system B and C. So that's the way that we can trigger sort of all at once as well. So for this particular one, let's go ahead and find this remote. So as I do my drop down here, I know the system that I'm currently on is the support events box. I'm going to do my drop down, and then I'm navigating to the page. So I have two pages here called demo. I believe it's the bottom one. Yeah, and you can see here's the remote that I created here, my game look remote. From here, same sort of methodology in regards to creating a group, where I can go ahead and just click and drag different content into there. And I'll go to my sponsorship tab, and I'll make sure that there's a sponsor going there. Like I said, there's sort of the next level of control within a remote as well. So in regards to triggering other devices and having different things happen when you actually click on that remote, you can obviously tie those in. And the way that you could also use a remote is to control how your system is playing out as well. So not that I would want this to happen when I trigger my game look, but let's say I wanted a remote where I click one button and it's going to black everything out, so I don't have to rely on that stop all button or going to different outputs and playing stop all. So I'll go ahead, now that we have our game look, we'll go back over here and let's make a remote control called stop all. Really, really common thing. Obviously, like before you get into your show, sometimes crowd's going wild, players are off the ice or off the court. You want everything to go black all at once. So I create a stop all remote, go up to my remote, and I clicked the wrong item there, but let's go to ClickEffects Network. Again, we're going in and we're finding that remote that we just created here. And this time, instead of tying content to it, I want to make sure it's sending a command to my system. So the way that you can think of this, these are all of the different options in regards to command that I have within my GUI. Things like clearing graphics out of program, clearing previews, adjusting DVEs, toggling live video on and off, audio, a ton of different options here. The ones that we're going to go down to is we want to do the stop all. And we just say stop all media because then it's anything that's outputting, it's going to take it off. It doesn't matter if it's a graphic, a video, audio, anything like that. We're just going to take it all off of every channel. But you can get really, really specific what you want to do here, right? You can even do it per output. So if I wanted to have a button where I click something and it does a particular action just to the 360 ring or just to SDI 1, you can do it all here. So again, to make this sort of stop all graphic, I'm going to do a single command and then I'll do another one because, again, like I said, this ties to the same sort of operation logic that you have within your system. So like we did before, you can see I added 2 stop all medias. That's the same thing as clicking the stop button twice. That'll clear everything off, right? Kind of how we talked before. A single stop is kind of going to pause video and the second one is going to take it off. So now we have our 2 different remotes. We'll kind of bring them over here just to kind of section them off from the other stuff. And now you can see I'm going to click this first remote, a single click. Now it's putting everything into program, and a second click here, and everything comes out of program. So really, really straightforward to build this stuff. Obviously, you're building it in context of what you're trying to do in your show. So, working with your rundown to make remotes to play content nice and easy and at the right times when your show caller is asking for it. I'm looking around here. I don't see any questions coming in just yet, but definitely, continue to use that chat box on the side of your window here if you do have any questions along the way. So the next thing that, again, you've imported your content, you've organized it, you've created remotes, you've gone and created groups if you need to, you're comfortable with how your system's sort of looking at this point. Obviously, as an operator, you're going to want to go through and make sure every piece of content that you have in there is playing out correctly and looking good, following your rundown that you would have organized from before. Here are all the different pieces of content that I have as my obligations for the day, and I'm going to go through each one to make sure it plays out accordingly. Some of the other things, especially if you have an SDI system with a video input, some of the other things that you might be doing is pretty cool is recording content. So you might have, a pregame hit with like a host, maybe, your in-stadium host goes and interviews like the coach or top player or something like that. So like I said, if you have an SDI input, you can absolutely record that and bring that back into your editor and trim it out to be able to play it out whenever it's needed, whenever there's fans in the building, right? So the way that you would do that, and you're going to see me do something here. I'm going to SDI2 because I have SDI2's output routed into SDI1's input as if it was a live input. So I'm just going to play out some basketball content. And you can see over on SDI1, if I toggle live, now I have basketball content coming in. It's just the output from output 2. So if I wanted to record this live signal coming in, the easiest way to do it is just going to an empty button space. Let's find a nice and clean page here. So here's my records page. And I'm going to go ahead and right click. And again, within this options pane here, you have record video. You can see my SDI1 input is going into that video editor page here. If I had multiple inputs, I could go here and check that out and select whatever different input I need coming in. But in this case, we just have the one. So that's what we're going to work with. Along with sort of everything else here, you have this record button. So I'm going to go ahead and click record. You can see it's turned red, and obviously we have our time code counting up here. I can go ahead and click the stop button. Let's get 10 seconds there. It's going to ask me where do I want to save it. Let's just go ahead and write test record 5. And we're going to save that out. Now you can see I'm in the video editor and things look a little bit different because now I have access to the timeline here. So I can see my clips 10 seconds and 24 frames. I can drag the top and tail so essentially your in and out point. You can click and drag them if you just wanted to eyeball it. Otherwise, you can sort of move the playhead. You can find exactly where you want to trim it, and you can click the mark in button, and that's going to move it to wherever that playhead is. If I move it down to the end here, click mark out. Now I've trimmed my video. Let's say this wasn't just a hit and it was something that I wanted to wanted to put on loop. I could decide to do that up in the top here. Let's say there was audio in it that was bad and I didn't want to play out the audio. I could click this mute button. So again, it's just going to mute that channel. And then this item right here, this is our thumbnail. And what are we going to name it? So just by clicking that blank space here, you can see on the page, there's a bit of like a grayed out sort of ghost window that's popped up. And I can go ahead and drag, move this thing around to show exactly what I want to see. And then the check mark up here will just validate it and put it into that thumbnail. So when I put it in the grid, you can see it's going to hold that thumbnail. Let's go ahead and name it as well. So this is going to be host pregame, and I'll save it. You can see here over on the left-hand side, I'm just going to exit out of the video editor here. On the left-hand side, we've got our button. We can see it's playing out on SDI channel 1. We can see it's a video. We can see it's 7 seconds long since I trimmed it. It's just going to play to the end. It's not going to loop. And the name is host pregame. And we have our nice little thumbnail in there. So anytime I did want to go and play it out, I can take my live video off and play it out. And just like that, I've created a recording of something that went on in the building. And now I'm able to play it out through my system.
Hey, Cole, I have one question for you.
Yeah.
When you pulled up the video editor, there was a checkbox for count. Is that telling you how many times it played out when you had it infinity, or is that telling it how many times you want it to play out because you've checked the count box? I'm just curious.
Yeah, great question. So, so if I click loop, you can see there's 2 different options here. There's infinity, and then there's one that's not selected down below. There's count. So if I deselect infinity, it's going to ask how many times do I want it to loop before it stops. So right now it's set to 1, so it's not going to loop at all. It's just going to play through. But if I set that to 10, it's going to loop itself 10 times and stop after the 10th one's played. Yeah, good question. And again, that's something that translates through any different video that's playing within our system. Even if your video is embedded into a graphic, you can have loop properties where it's just going to continue to loop, which is usually the most common scenario where you have a video, especially, let's say it's like a pregame video with your matchup. It's just going to sit there on a loop and continue to do its thing until you take it off. But you always have the option, if you did want it not to loop an infinite amount of times, and just play it a couple times. Good question. Cool. Yeah, so now the next thing, a little bit more advanced that I wanted to talk about, but definitely something really great to talk to operators once they get past, like, in more comfortable with the system, once they're past sort of like entry level part of being an operator, above and beyond setting your remotes to be able to play stuff out wherever you want and send commands to other systems. You can also tie any of these things that I've mentioned, buttons, groups, remotes, you can tie them to hotkeys. And with hotkeys, you can tie it to a Stream Deck or to a different device, whatever you need it to do. So that, again, it's just like a single flick and it's going to play stuff out. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's say with our game look remote. So I'm just going to right click it, and you can right click any piece of content and you can see assign hotkey. So we'll do it over here and assign hotkey. You can see there's a variety of them that have already kind of been made here. But right away up in the top, you're going to see your remote and then just a blank space, and it's prompting you to press a key or whatever keystroke combination that you need, and then sort of verify it with the OK. So for this, it's our game look. So maybe we're going to say it's G. Oh, and I think the system has caps lock on. That's great. Shift capital. Interesting. So this is a remote system that's living in our office in Melville, and I'm guessing somebody's put something down on the keyboard that's holding the capital button down. So in this case, I'm not going to be able to show you, but it's really straightforward to be able to set hotkeys to your system and be able to just call something up by just pressing a hotkey. A lot of customers, they'll have a keyboard that is totally just, labeled with different pieces of tape. Maybe it's around the F keys up top or around their number pad, where again, you can go ahead and just make it that much easier for your operator to come up and, press G and their game look fires everywhere, or press S and that stops everything everywhere. A lot of cool stuff to do with that for sure. And again, just making your operator that much more sort of functional to be able to get things out as quick as they can. With hockey, obviously things happen pretty quick, but I'd say basketball is a much more quick sport, especially with the volume of scoring that they end up doing, and how quick sort of things bounce around. So especially, something like a slam dunk, 3-pointer, foul shot, that sort of thing, having hotkeys that are designated. So myself as an operator, when a 3-pointer happens, I know to click 3 on my keyboard, and that's going to fire a 3-pointer graphic out. Again, very straightforward thing to do, but it just allows me as an operator to react a little bit quicker to what's happening on the court or in the game. Yeah, I think that's pretty much covering it for my first section here. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is sort of the layer above and beyond of just click effects, and it talks more about what prime graphics are. So if you're familiar with Chyron, you've heard of Prime CG before. That's sort of like our flagship broadcast CG that pretty much all of our other products are sort of built on top of nowadays. Click Effects, obviously, it's been around for a long time, bit of a legacy company that's been brought into Chyron, and now it's been integrated with the Prime engine and the Prime CG sort of suite of tools. And along with Prime CG, we have these things called control panels. So it's above and beyond just your basic sort of point and click button view here. And essentially, it's giving the operators some more granular control of what's happening inside of the graphic without having to go in and edit it. They can go to a control panel and make adjustments to it. So a really common thing that when we're commissioning systems for a customer or we're working with them to make their workflow easier is we'll create, obviously, their scoring graphics. Or work with them to integrate their scoring graphics. So all of their different game in progress graphics, anywhere you're going to see score, this team versus that team, anything like that. Instead of going around to each individual graphic at the beginning of the game or beginning of the day, we're going to go to a control panel, make your change to say, the team A is playing team B tonight, and affect all of those graphics in your system. So to give you an example of that, we have two different game in progress graphics here. You can see one of them is going to my SDI channel. So I'll pop out this little SDI window here. And one's going to a GPU channel. So that's going to this program for output. And if I switch my output, you can see that's sort of up on the board there. And if I go to view, the window that I'm going to pop out here, this is my scene control panel window. You can see this is, there's a decent amount of stuff going on here. Not to be sort of intimidating at all. These are all custom things that we've decided to put into this control panel for the purpose of this demo. For a lot of customers, what this might look like for a Click Effect system is just this top game setup section where they're just going in, putting in the try codes for whatever teams that are playing. The home team, for the most part, is going to stay the same because that's the building that they're playing in, but there might be a couple different looks associated with that. And then the visit team is whoever's, visiting for that game. You can see here, I have the two LA teams in there. I'm from Toronto, so I'm going to say Toronto's the home team here. You can see just by clicking or putting in Toronto's try code, so TOR, and clicking enter, it's reskinned both of these graphics here. Let's just before I show you the rest of them, let's say Toronto's playing OKC tonight. Again, clicking enter. You can see within this graphic right above on my SDI channel, it's reflecting that. So Toronto versus OKC. You can also see on my GPU output, it's done the same. So from one spot, I no longer need to go into all my different graphics and change everything and make sure that I've, some buildings, it's 10, 15 different graphics that they might need to edit. But in this case, we're able to just go in to a control panel, change a parameter, and it's going to push all of those changes to any graphic that's referencing those parameters. And obviously, this is a little bit more of a complicated thing to set up. Once people do it and they get a little bit of training from us, or they might have somebody that's kind of keen on learning it, they jump in and they're able to build these things with their eyes closed. It's really something. And this is something that we'll get into on Thursday, and we'll actually walk you through how to build one of these things from scratch and how to organize yourself in a way that these parameters work really simply for you, and how to think about connecting them to graphics and videos and colors and everything like that. So it might seem a little daunting, and you might be thinking, "Oh, how do I actually do that?" But it's been around for a long time within Chyron, and it's very defined within our world now. So it's great. Another way you can think about this as well, these could not just be your different try codes. These could also be file pickers. So I could go and literally say, okay, my background for today is my military night. This could be, a different look, scroll where, look one is the City Connect look. Look two is, throwback night look. look 3 is next gen look, and have, you know, a physical button where you're just clicking which look is it tonight, which game, you know, which type of game or type of night are we having tonight, and it's going to reskin everything from there. Stuff you set up on the pre-production side, so then it's going to make your game day operator's life a lot easier. Along with setting up your game and getting in there and making sure you have the right matchup for the night, you might want to go ahead and start testing if your data is actually coming in, your data. So within our you know, 2 sports of hockey and basketball, there are a lot of different data sources, and they might be stuff, or might be data sources that originate in the building, so your scoring controller, or they might be APIs or XML files that, again, are originating outside of the building, coming from, let's say, like SMT or SRDI in basketball's case, Oasis data in the NHL's case, where, you know, there are these sort of funnels or massive fire hoses of data, and you need to funnel them down and get them a little bit more granular. So let's sort of walk through how you might look into doing that. This particular graphic here, you can see it's already counting down. I just have a timer object in there counting down just for sort of demo purposes. I'm going to go and I'll show you, we're going to import another graphic here that's not tied to anything, so then we can start manipulating it. So we'll go ahead and import a file. I know if I pop over here to my Prime projects and I go to NAB 2024, and let's look at our scenes here. I'm going to navigate through. Obviously, the system's got a lot of stuff going on it. So I have a basketball scoreboard that is for OES data. So in this case, it's just not linked to anything at this point. I'm going to go ahead and make sure it is outputting on my output channel. So say SDI1. And then from here, we'll go into the editor. Actually, before I get into that, let's talk about actually setting up these data sources, because again, that might be something that beginning of the year, some things have changed. Maybe some people have left, and we need to make sure that the data sources are actually coming in before we start tying them to the graphics. So 2 different data sources that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the in-house scoring controller data. So that's, you know, going to be your time, actual like period time, all of your different home score, away score, penalties, fouls, quarter, period, whatever sort of in-house data that's coming in, and that's usually off of a OES or a Daktronics controller in a lot of these major buildings. So how we would look at that and make that connection, it's usually a serial connection coming into the back of the system. So assuming that's all plugged in and our system should be seeing some sort of serial data come in, maybe there's a clock running, we're going to set that up on our COM ports. So we go up here to remote, and again, you can have multiple of these coming in. We could set up any amount of COM ports. Usually it tends to be 1 or 2, depending on if it's like a multi-use building or something like that. So right now, I'll just click on my COM port 1, and let's go ahead and change this to be like OES hockey, for instance. So you can see there's a ton of different protocols within here. Usually we're just going to keep the default connection settings with that serial controller. And then we're going to pop down here and make sure that we're looking at data and stats. And then we are going to one of our presets. So a lot of different presets in here. And let's go to OES hockey. Or actually, since it's a basketball controller or a basketball game in progress graphic, let's do basketball. That would just make more sense. So I've changed that. You can see my system sort of buffering for a second, and now my name has changed and my port name has changed to OES basketball. I'm going to go ahead and click enabled. If there was any data coming in, we'd then be able to see that either within the graphics that we've tied stuff to, or we have this OES basketball monitor, which is the second sort of tab here. This is super, super handy when it comes to troubleshooting connections, whether it be something of like inbound data coming in, or I've tied my graphic to my data. I want to check and see if it's actually tied correctly. So 2 sort of really, really cool things. Firstly, if there was a clock connected to this and it was sending a serial stream we'd be able to see these values update right here. So under the value column here, you'd be able to see within all these different rows, whatever value that OES controller is pumping out, you'll be able to see it within here. So diagnosing if an OES controller is actually sending valid data, really, really handy tool to see if it's in the right preset, that sort of thing, seeing what's actually coming in on that port. The other really cool thing from a testing perspective is, let's say, that scoring controller hasn't been set up yet in my building, but I just created a new graphic and I want to make sure that everything's tied to the right place. You can actually go in here, double click in the value slot or value column there, and I could go and type in a value, 10 minutes, and we can see anywhere that a graphic is referencing that particular value, we'd see 10 minutes up here. So within this graphic that I've just imported, let's go ahead and tie the game clock to that value. So open it in my editor. Very good. On the right-hand side, you can see I have a layers window open here. We're just going to kind of navigate through to find my score clock here that says 10:42. So I have it kind of organized, away team, home team, and score panel. I believe it's in this guy right here, group 14, and you can see SC time, so scoring time. The next thing that we want to do is open up our data options window. So this is where we actually tie this text object to the OES data that's coming in. We want it to be, I'm just going to save this quickly. Select this again. We want it to be a dynamic data object because it's getting updated from somewhere else and it's constantly, it needs to be dynamically updated. And now we're going to select our data source. So like we just set up that OES basketball on the COM port 1, you can see here OES basketball. I'm going to go to my category and it's basketball. And now we're tying it to that data field. So we'll navigate down. See shot clock, and of course I'm probably missing it here. Game clock. There we go, right at the top. And you can see as I click that, our value actually updated to 10. And I'll just save this out now that we have that done. Obviously, you would go through and you would populate this for the home score, the away score, what quarter you're in, how many fouls there are. Maybe who's on the court, their different stats, everything like that. All the stats that you want it to come from that OES controller, this is where you would end up populating it through your editor and your data options window. Now that I've closed out of that, I'll navigate back to the graphic and we'll make sure we can see this just so you can see how handy this monitor here for the data is. Really, really great thing. Once you have all these things tied, again, just to double check that those links are correct, you could go in here and now, there's only 10 seconds left on the clock and I can see it update live, even though there's no scoring controller connected to it. I can go ahead and check all my bases and make sure that everything's connected in the right spot so that when the scoring controller gets online, starts outputting stuff, everything's good to go. So that's how we would get serial data into our system connected to graphics. The next layer is those more advanced data sources. So in regards to some of the different formats that they would usually come in as, it'd usually be XML or JSON formatted type of data link. So there's some cool stuff that we can do in here as well to just like test if things are working properly, as well as organize them a little bit to then be able to deal with them a little bit more neatly or friendlier within our system. So let's say that we had a XML source coming in here. I'm just going to use one of the existing ones in here to show you, but to bring up a new one, we would just go to the new section here. You would name it, obviously, go ahead and select what type of method we're getting it into our system. So is it a TCP source that's coming in? Is it an HTTP source that we're looking at a URL? Is it a file that actually lives on the system that we're just referencing? Tons of different options. And then obviously you would tie it to the appropriate, whether it be a file or IP address that you need to connect to. But let's say that we already have this guy coming in here and it's just, I'll find one here for us. Nothing in these guys. You can go ahead and preview stuff as well. So just by right clicking and going preview or view XML, maybe out of town scores. And this is real good. I got nothing coming in. So we will go ahead and start looking for some XML on the system right now. So let's go ahead and make a new connection here. We'll go to our file system watcher just because we're pointing it to a XML file on the system. I'm going to go back to my NAB 2024 section, go to data because I know that there's a lot of XML in here. And let's go ahead and say that we're looking at, or here, I'll just preview some stuff just so we can see what we're actually looking at. Okay, this is a great example. So we have out of town scores essentially for the MLB. So there's 3 different games going on, and it has the home and the away score. Definitely something, you know. Let's say it were to be for NHL or NBA. Really popular thing to have somewhere within your building is here are the other games going on tonight, and here are their scores right now. So let's go ahead and import that in. And I got to make a name for it. Let's say this is out of town scores. Perfect. From here, you have a couple different options just right away as you're kind of checking through these different XML sources. One really popular thing that I like to do whenever I'm working on the actual connection, I'll like disable it, go in and make the connection, and then re-enable it, just so it gives the system a chance to grab onto that as well, especially if it is like a URL that you're looking for, or some sort of TCP connection, something just to be able to say, okay, let's disconnect, I'm working on it. Let's re-enable it and see it run. Now that I have the data coming in, let's organize it a little bit. So instead of, and this one here, it is a pretty simple one, but let's just say we wanted to look at one of the games. So we'd go over here to our XML data view. You can see it. We have a bunch of them already created, but let's create a new one here. Let's say this is the first game. Out of town. If we just wanted to look at the first game, but this could be, let's say we have player lineups for the home and the away team. We could just be looking at the away team. Let's go to the XML source and we'll find that out of town scores that we just created. And then from here, we have to set sort of like our base path. And this is essentially where we'll decide within that XML, what do we want to narrow down to? You can see this one's very simple. We just have those 4 games. So I'll click on the first game. And from here, it has the home name, home score, away name, and away score as the different values that we can look at. So we'll go ahead and click OK. I know with this, the max row for each of those items is only going to be 1. But let's say it was very complicated XML, especially some of these more advanced stats like SRDI or Oasis. We put however many rows that we wanted to see. But in this case, we'll just put 2 just to be able to accommodate if there was more, and click OK. The best thing about this is you can just preview it right away. So I can go and right click preview, and now I'm seeing the stats that are just available within that first game. So you can see here the away team name is the Marlins, away team score is 3. The home name is the Devil Rays, and the home score is 6. Again, something super easy to be able to get it into a data view or a table view. Then you can start tying graphics to it. Again, if this was a much more complicated XML and we just needed to see, maybe this was part of something much grander, where you had your out of town scores just as a value within it. We might want to just start it at that top level of XML, and that way, now when I preview it, if I go back, and I'm going to have to make some more rows, since we have more data coming in. Let's say since there's 4 teams, we'll have 4 rows. And let me just make sure here. We should be able to preview this guy. Clear this guy out. Give me 1 second here. Of course, I try to do something and it's given me a bit of an issue. So we have our different games here. Get rid of this. And now we have our scoreboard. Okay. It's giving me a bit of an issue right now, but the idea behind it is that we'd have sort of a neat table to be able to then go through the different stats, especially when you have something that's really complicated. It's definitely a helpful tool to narrow things down within a really complicated XML. From there, again, you'd go back to your graphics editor, and instead of using the, let's pop back in here. I'll take this one out of program so I can edit it. Instead of using the data view window that we had popped open before, we're going to use our data sheet window to be able to look through everything and actually decide what ends up getting tied to what graphics. So we can go to like our home team. Let's say we had a bunch of different player stats. Let's go to our let's see, player one. So their name. Again, you would pop in here. For this particular case here, we'll just go to our data view, and we'll find. Oh, I think I know why it wasn't working, but we'll find the XML that we just created into a data view, and then now we can go ahead and start tying it to the actual graphics. And then from there, you can go through and make sure everything's aligned with points and fouls and name and everything like that. Still no questions at this point. It's totally cool. In regards to anything else that you might do within setting up a system, one really cool thing that I haven't touched on, actually, I got a little ahead of myself, is playlists. So along with these single play buttons, you can have playlists where it's just going to essentially push through a preset or predetermined playlist of different content. And it might end up looping at the end, or it could be a single play, or it could stop after each individual item. So really easy way to show that. This is all of the ring content, all the different sponsor content that we imported before. We can go ahead and right click again, and you can see this option here, create playlist. You can see now I'm in my playlist editor. Up top there has a new sort of window. Let's say this is my sponsor rotate. Perfect. We have a couple different options. Like I said, you could have a continuous playlist that just plays through each button, or you could have a single play playlist where it plays one piece of content and then it's going to hold it there, and then until you tell it again to play another piece of content. So the most popular is going to be continuous looping playlists. So again, like Brian asked, where we have our loop button, and it could either be infinite or it could just have a single play. Or however many determined plays. And then to build your playlist here, we're going to go ahead and just click and drag stuff in. So we're in organizer mode already. I just shift clicked to highlight a couple different items. Going to go ahead. These guys look like it's all the same. So let's drag a couple different ones in here. We got Coca-Cola, great. Coors Light, awesome. And from there, one thing to note, this guy right here, the green item determines where it is within the playlist. So when I go to play it, it's going to be on that item. So as I play through my playlist, if I were to take it off air, it's going to hold its position. The other cool thing for stills, so not videos that have a predetermined amount of time, you can see, this Chewy MasterCard and Coca-Cola, they're 14 seconds each. So those are predetermined videos that are actually imported in. So it's going to play for 14 seconds and then move on to the next item. If I wanted my stills to again match up to that duration, I could go ahead just to anything that has a still and say set still duration, and we want that to match up to 14 seconds. And it's going to ask me, hey, do I want to apply it to all of my stills that are in this playlist? So we'll go ahead and click apply, and you can see it updated this other graphic or this other still down at the end to be 14 seconds. So now each piece of content is the same duration. Go ahead and click save. And now from here, again, you could tie this into a remote. So that's probably the most common use, where again, you tie it into something that's going to kind of fire everything at once around the building. But now you can see, as this is playing out, you can see on the left-hand side at the bottom in red, I have 50 seconds, 49 seconds left in my playlist. And on the right, I have 2 seconds, 1 second left on that piece of content within the playlist. So each one of those is going to be 14, and you can kind of see it's counting down. It gives you some little progress trackers just below it as well. Some sort of like visual cue to say how long do I have left in that playlist. In this case, it's going to loop anyway, so we're not too concerned about that. Alrighty, I know there's probably a lot to digest. Again, if you have any questions, throw it into the chat there. But I think at this point, I'm probably going to hand it off to Logan to go through some of the some more sort of things about in-game activity and some of our best practices that we like to use.
Yeah, thanks, Cole. So I'll start this off with the best practices documentation guide here. So we have 2 of these documents, one for GPU systems and one for SDI systems. And to summarize these a bit, we detail some optimal workflows, codexes and frame rates to use, and steps to take when troubleshooting and reaching out with issues. So that's out of the way. We have another quick thing we want to highlight, which is our Backdraft product. So our Backdraft is software and hardware solution that continually makes a backup of a click effect system and can be deployed to take place of said system. So for example, if there's an issue during a game, you can initiate the backup to take place of the main system and continue your production. All right, next up, we'll take a look at play duration tracking. This is our way to track how long a media object has been played for. So if we click Edit and then select Edit Play Durations, we'll get a new window with a list of our media buttons. From here, we can right-click to assign or remove sponsors and set and remove durations. At the top, we have File, Edit, and View. File is just another location to close this window. Edit will allow us to edit the sponsors we have. And View allows us to switch our views from clips to sponsors. For demonstration purposes, let's create a sponsor and add a target play duration we want to achieve. And to do that, we go to Edit, then Sponsors. Then we click Add, and we can name the sponsor. So we already have Coke here. So if you were just to imagine, we could type in Coke and hit OK, it would populate. Next, we can select the clip that we want to assign a sponsor to by right-clicking, selecting sponsor, and assigning it with, and then hitting OK. So we'll do that on this one. And if we want to add a target duration, we can do that by right-clicking the same media button again and set target duration. So we'll use 300 seconds or 5 minutes. All right, so with these settings changed, anytime we play out this media button, the system will track this percentage. The system will track the percentage complete of our target duration. And we can see that percentage listed to the right of the target within this window. So that pretty much wraps up duration tracking. Each media button can be assigned to one sponsor, and the target durations for each media button can be independent of each other, even if they share the same sponsor type. All right, next up, we're going to check out a birthday message. So we'll create a quick graphic here. In short, a message is just a text object that allows us to point to a text file to then rotate through a list of names. So we'll go ahead and import an image to use as a background. And this one should work. So as you can see, we need to align this image with the canvas. And to do that, we'll just use the alignment panel and click the bottom right icon. Now we can click our message option within the editor. And now we can access the options through the message window pane on the bottom right. Here we can link this to a text object or a text document on the computer. And this text file contains a list of names we want within the birthday message. Once this message is pointed at this file, we can now set our rotation intervals within the editor, which is here. So we'll set it to, I think, 10. We can also loop this message with the checkbox below the rotation interval. And we can set which name the rotation starts on with the message index. And that's pretty much it on creating a message. We can save this. And when we go to play this out, it will rotate through each line every 10 seconds. That was a pretty quick demonstration. I think that wraps up the bulk of day one. I think we can kick off the Q&A portion here. So if you have any questions, please utilize the hand raise feature, which is located at the bottom of the meeting here. And I think I'm kicking this off to Owen.
Owen might be on mute at this point.
I can jump in.
Yeah, go ahead.
Did we have any questions at all from anybody?
I don't see anything popping in into the chat.
Okay. Well, great. We are always available. There is a help page at chyron.help.edu. Would love to answer any questions you guys have there. The videos that we have made in training and in just support videos that kind of walk you through like the things we've done today, all those videos are there at the help.chyron.edu page. We've got a special place there specifically for ClickFX and have put videos and whatnot in there. If you guys have time, we'd love to see it on Thursday. Same bat time, same bat channel. We will come back and take a deeper dive and look at some more advanced ideas and whatnot, looking at ClickFX and getting into your baseball and hockey seasons. Owen, is there anything else you wanted to add to the team or add to the
no, just thanks for hopping in there. The year is the calendar year is about to end, which means for some people budgets are about to end. So we do have some discounting available for people that need to kind of spend some budget money before the year's up. So obviously always welcome those conversations if we can help you in any way. Thursday, Brian alluded to, we're going to go in depth on headshot templates, control panels, some interactive games that you can build and play rather easily for fan engagement. So, and anybody that goes through that panel on Thursday will be given some headshot template files that they can take back to their building and use. So we would love to see you guys on Thursday.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.